Alright everyone, I think everything's working properly. My live stream should be going. Let me just change one thing here, and we are going to get started. Okay, so let's just open up the file, and I'll explain what's going on. Okay, so I am actually going to screenshot this right now for the video here, and then go into GIMP. And then I'll just quickly edit this and apply it as the image for my video. So let's just find my screenshots here. Let's see. Nope. Screenshots, and here it is. Alright, so now I'm just gonna trim this down and enter, save it, and then let's just file, export, could be a PNG, doesn't really matter, and then I'm just going to export it as, yeah, I'm going to replace it, and everything's good here, and that's all I need to do. So let me just change this thumbnail here, and go into the pictures, and we could just change that really quick, and that should be good. Alright, so yeah, so I'm basically modeling a car. I've been working on this the past 3 days, and it's almost done. There's a lot to cover here, yeah, so on this video I'm going to be modeling some of the small details, like I got the headlights done in the front, and this model is really, it's a really complex model. There's a lot to it, and it's definitely a very involved process to make something like this, but as you gain experience, if you just tackle it all at once, it seems overwhelming, but if you just take it step by step, it makes the whole process a lot more manageable. Let me just make sure that everything seems to be, smoothly, that everything seems to be, okay, everything is good, and yeah. So, I've been working on the backlight, be right back. So yeah, I'm going to be in and out in the beginning of the video because I do have food cooking, so I just got to keep an eye on it. But anyway, yeah, so this is the vehicle. I modeled everything, including the tires. You could see I got an empty here that's parented to the wheels. And if we rotate that, that can be animated. It can also be animated on the z-axis like this. And that's just for maximum flexibility in the animation process. Yeah, and here's what it looks like rendered. Let me actually hide the HDRI because it's a little bit distracting. So this is what the model just looks like, and you can see there's some issues with it. Like for example, some of the reflections are a little bit not perfect, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it's coming out. I could have covered this whole thing on a video, but it was a very involved process, so unfortunately I didn't cover the rest, but I'll try to cover the rest moving forward. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm working on the back headlight here, and I'm just going to fill in some of these faces, like that. I believe I got an edge loop there that I don't need. So I'm just going to, dissolve that vertice. That should be good. And just fill in this whole thing with faces. And subdivide. Maybe what I'll do is move some of these faces upwards a little bit to optimize the face count here, so that they're evenly spaced as possible, and give it a subdivision level of 2. That looks pretty good. And what I'm also going to do is add in a mirror modifier, which is right here, and then I can just mirror that along the empty. And that seems pretty good. And what I could start doing now is actually just thinking about how I want to approach this. I'm wondering if I should apply a yeah, why don't I? I'm going to apply a solidify modifier and just move this down on the z-axis in the normal direction here. And I'm going to start selecting these faces and extrude that inwards like that, and then I'm going to apply some edge loops, sharpen things up, but I don't really want to move this edge loop here, so why don't I just move that yeah, this solidify modifier is actually working out really well. And then this I could just, I think I could do something like that. And just moving these edge loops here. And I will be right back. Okay, so yeah, that seemed to work out alright, and I'm also going to apply, I think I'm going to want an edge loop there, and also want one here, and now things are starting to come together better. Now I'm going to actually pull up a reference image of this, of a car back, and I don't think I could show it on the stream, unfortunately, because of copyright reasons. But I have it on my the other side of my monitor here, so I can kind of follow it and get things to look more realistic. So I'm just going to look that up now. Okay, and I kind of got an idea here. Just gonna look at one of these images and select it, and I think I got a general idea. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, yeah. Definitely not ideal, the model, because there is some reflection problems I've been noticing. Like over here, there's some curved surfaces that are not perfect, but overall I'm pretty happy with this model for a start. And it's definitely a nice, it's definitely a learning process to get better at this as I keep going. So I think what I'm gonna want to do is move that up and move that down and possibly bring in some edge loops. And let's see, something I think I might have to apply the solidify modifier actually. Let's see what this looks like if I move it inwards now like that. It actually doesn't look bad. So I'm gonna actually move that back, and I will apply the solidify modifier. And when I apply that, something seemed to change. Maybe I gotta apply the scale. Or actually, I'm just gonna apply a little more geometry there. Maybe we'll fix it a little bit. That seems a little bit better. Yeah, so let's apply the solidify modifier. And that lets me put some edge loops around the edge here so I can sharpen things up. And I will be right back in about 2 minutes. Sorry about that. I just have a snack I'm making, so I just have to keep checking on it. But anyway, so yeah, that looks like it's working out pretty good. So let's move that in. And I'm not too much of a fan about these sharp edges on here, so I'm going to fix that now. I believe what I did wrong is that I put too much of an edge to it, so I'm going to bring down the edge crease value to something more moderate and maybe fix it here. Yeah, that's better. And then what I'll do is just try to make the geometry fit better, sort of. So just move things around and kind of get it to look better. So I'm going to move that down, I think. Maybe I'll actually bring this down a little bit. Yeah, and that's starting to come along pretty good. So I'm just gonna see what I get if I change some of these settings here with the edges. That actually doesn't look bad at all. I will move this edge inwards just a little bit, just to kind of make it match up better. Want to try to get this as accurate as possible. And perhaps I'll turn on proportional editing mode, which can help. Maybe what I'll also do is bring down some of these vertices, again using proportional editing. Let's go in the local view and just bring that down, something like that. Not going to go too crazy over this on this video because it's not the most interesting process here, but I'm going to still get it to look pretty good. Now this edge here, this edge can actually be brought to the corner like that, and I will also be moving this edge, this one, let's see what we're doing here. So GZ, I think, or GY, but I'm going to go into global coordinates, and that just seems to fix things a little bit. And I'm also going to just move that in and then out a little bit. And yeah, overall that's okay, I think. But let me just bring that corner to the edge a little bit, and that downwards, and that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. This one, yeah, and I'm actually going to go with that for now. That's not bad. And next we'll start to work on the lighting of the back. So I'm just going to get something quick and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so, yeah, let me look up a model of a car and just the back so I can get the lighting more correct. And I'm actually going to go with something, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this whole thing glow around the edge, and then I'm gonna make a cover for this. I might actually move that in just a little bit, and the reason why is because I'm gonna have a cover going over this. And in fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna move that edge in even more. Something like that is not bad. And one thing that's been bugging me about this is these lines that keep appearing, so I'm just going to separate these vertices to kind of fix the shading a little bit. And that makes things look much better. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of these faces here very easily and just select them all. And I'll go into X-ray mode to kind of make that process easier. Or maybe not. And just select them very fast. Just like that. And I think I got them all selected. And then I'm going to Shift D to duplicate. And then just move it, I believe, out. Just this tiniest amount. And if I could go into, yeah, I'll go into global and just kind of move it out just a little bit like that. And yeah, that actually doesn't look bad. So what I'm going to do is make a new material. I'm going to set this to whatever color I want the lights to be, and I believe a nice color would be something maybe red or yellow. So I could just add an emission texture and set that to something, I don't know. Let's go to rendered view. Well, let's see, why is it? That's odd. Oh, I see what's going on. The whole, yeah, let me separate that and then just apply a different texture for this inner part, which would be just a standard. I could actually just apply the car paint material to that. And then I could just go to render view. And you kind of get an idea of what I'm gonna go for here. And I can just bring that way up. Something like, I don't know, 100? Nah, maybe that's too much. 50. And change the colors a little bit. And I kind of like the yellow. Green, I don't like green for that. Even this is nice, a blue, but I don't know. What do you guys think? You like the yellow or the blue? I kind of like the yellow, but yeah, I'm probably gonna stick with the yellow. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with the yellow. I'm just looking at a reference because I believe that I'm not really liking this edge here. It's too sharp, perhaps. So all I could do here is just, I could go into edge mode here. And I'm actually going to move this edge down and just give that a slight curve there, because that makes the effect more interesting here. And when I go into render view, yeah, I like that much better. That looks much better. Now, I'm going to duplicate this whole thing once again. Select everything. Or what I could do is just simply duplicate, Shift D. Again, move it on the Y-axis, and this will be the glass. This will be the glass top, the glass cover. So this can very simply be just modeled by filling everything in, basically. So what I could do for this is just press GG on when I select that edge, and then C to kind of bring it back, and then I can just merge these loops by, yeah, I have to, gonna move these back a little bit. So I'm just kind of, I'm modeling the cover here. And I do not want to actually, I only want to subdivide these ones here. Yeah, that worked. And once again, I'm going to do it again. So select these bottom ones and subdivide it again. And select all these little vertices here, and I'm just going to connect everything together. And I'm going to even subdivide this, or actually, I'm going to delete these loops. I don't even need them, I don't think. Yeah. Definitely don't need that one either. And just kind of connecting everything back to how it was. And gonna fill in the faces now. There we go. And we got the cover modeled now, and I'm going to move everything. I'm going to make everything more even here to make things look better, fix the shading a little bit, and I'm going to put more geometry there. And the shading does look a little bit off, but the reflections are not perfect, but that should be alright. I could always go into proportional editing and just move things a little bit around, and it should start to look better. So I could use something like smooth. Just move it slightly. Shading's a little better, but not going to go too crazy over that. because it takes a while to get it correct. And it's just a headlight, it's a backlight, a tail light of a car, and it's going to be transparent so you won't even notice the reflections too much. Actually, it seems like this one is the main. Yeah, just going to pull those out a little bit and that should fix. Yeah, reflections are a little bit better now. Okay, so now I'm going to extrude it. Actually not. I'm going to do a solidify modifier. And just going to put that over the top. And the advantage of the solidify modifier is that it's all procedural, so you can always remove it, or you can always change it without destroying the underlying geometry, which might be needed in some cases. Yeah. So I'm actually not happy with this mesh artifact here, so I'm just gonna fix that quickly. That looks a little bit better. And maybe I'll also add some edge creasing. Or, yeah, I'm going to add edge creasing. But sometimes it doesn't always look best to do that. And I definitely want to move that subdivision surface to be after the solidify. Something like that actually doesn't look bad at all. And I can also take the thickness up just a little more. Yeah, that looks great. Okay. That's much better. Yeah, and we're going to go with that, and for this material, I'm not going to have it, I'm going to separate it, and I'm going to change the material to be the same as the front headlights, which would be just headlight cover. So, headlight cover. And let's see what we get. That doesn't look too bad. Now, one thing I've been noticing, I'm looking at some car models up close, and I would like to have some kind of texture over this, because this just looks very flat. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's almost like it's a reflector look, and so I'm not sure exactly how I would set that up, but it's going to involve some kind of material creation, and I also actually want that interior piece, this piece, to be just plain metal. That's not that one. That one. Yeah, because that should be reflective. So I'm going to open up the material editor, and we are going to create a procedural material for the for the taillights. So let's zoom in, and we have the principled here, and I'm just going to add in something like a noise texture and a color ramp. And I'm just going to start playing around with these settings and see what we get here, and see if we can get anything we're happy with. And, okay, I'm making, yeah, this is the wrong one, so let's actually delete that all and go back to this one is the one I want to change. Okay, so now, principle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using mix shaders and use factors to mix between mix shaders and mix between emission shaders. And if I hope this makes sense, if it doesn't, hopefully it will get clearer as I go through the process. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to add a mix shader now, and I'm going to connect that to the top, and the principled BSDF to the bottom, connect that to the surface, and yeah, we're getting the same result. And before I change anything, why don't I bring up the roughness of the glass just a little bit more. Something like 0.1 should be pretty good. Just testing some settings here. I think 0.1 is a good value. Just to kind of, yeah, make things not so unnaturally sharp. So back to this one, which is the light on the back. I'm going to use a noise texture and put that into a color ramp. Bring up the black value and the white value. Bring up the scale. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Actually, I'm thinking a Voronoi texture would be better. And then setting that to Manhattan? No. A lot of options here. Lots and lots of options. But actually I need a texture coordinate because, as you can see, things are getting very distorted. Yeah, that's better. Bring up the scale a lot, and if I remember correctly, there was a setting here, but I'm not seeing it. Yeah, there it is. Randomness. And I'm thinking with Manhattan, this actually doesn't look too far from what I'm going for. I'd like it to have a little bit more of the black values here so that it looks more like a light on the back of the car, but yeah, that doesn't look bad at all. Maybe F2 would look better. Now it's not showing anything. F3, smooth F1. Okay, so F1 is the only one that seems to be working that well. Let's see, Shep. Ooh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I like that. Wow. Okay, I think I'm actually gonna go with that. That's not far at all from what I was going for. And then I can adjust that. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna put that on constant. Yeah. And all I have to do is use that as a factor to mix between the emission shader. And maybe what I'll do is I want to have, not sure if that's what I want. I think I want also a red one, red light. Yeah, that's not really what I wanted. So I'm going to take the roughness down of that and I'm trying to get that reflector look. It's kind of hard to explain, but why don't I add a bump map? And I can always work on this later, so I don't spend too much time on it. Okay, so I actually decided what I'm going to do, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mix shader and actually mix this again before it enters the mix shader, to kind of make the effect a little bit more subtle. That actually is not too bad. And maybe bring down the scale a little bit more. Something like 50, or it could be 100. 75. Yeah. And that's what I'll work on for now. I'm probably going to change this later on. But yeah. So now to the front lights. Let me find a reference image here. And actually this part right here is going to be interesting because it's not actually lights. It's basically a radiator, I believe. So that'll certainly be interesting modeling that. So let me just get this image here that I have on on the other side of my screen. And I'm just going to zoom in. And I got a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do here. So first off, let's go back to regular view. We don't need the materials now. And I'm going to add a cube. Scale it on the y-axis. And let's see, just going to keep checking on the reference image. So I'm going to scale that way down on the z-axis, and I could do this with booleans, but I don't think it's necessary, so I'm going to actually just keep it all subdivision modeling here. And I'm going to put an edge loop there and just pull that down a little bit more, something like that. And just going to make this more of a cube. Actually, I'm going to do this with all booleans because it's a little bit of the geometry for this is going to be a little bit more complex. So I'm going to add in, I'm just going to add in a cube. And this part's going to be going right here. Actually, I still want to do this with subdivisions, so I'm going to delete that, and I think what I'm going to do is actually do it with a plane, and then use a solidify modifier. Gotta just find it. Yeah, apply the scale, apply all the transforms, everything should be working, and I'm going to change the thickness, something like that is good, and I can always change that later, bring it down that way, and I'm also going to, yeah, this is going to work, so I'm going to put some geometry here, move that out a little bit more, and that looks pretty good. Also going to put subdivisions after the solidify modifier. Okay, that's better. Oh, and one more thing, very important. Shift-D I'm going to do to give it an edge crease, and auto smooth. And I can always adjust this later on. I gotta go into local view. That would certainly be helpful. And so I'm looking at the model here, and looks like I want to place this something like here, and I'm going to make another loop cut, bring that out. Maybe bring these loop cuts in a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of getting that the shape better, and just gonna kind of get that to line up well. And maybe what I'll do is I think I'm also gonna move that in a little bit more, and this part can be way thinner. Something more like that is what I'm going for. And if you guys have any questions or want to comment anything, please feel free to. So I'm going to bring that up to 2. That is too harsh. The shape a little bit, I'm thinking. Not sure if it's the best, but first of all, why don't I apply a mirror modifier before the subdivisions and use the empty. Yeah. And I'm just going to take a look at the reference again, and I'm kind of trying to... Yeah, this isn't too bad. The edges, though, are too sharp. That's better. Yeah, the edges were just too sharp. And I'm going to duplicate that and move it on the Z-axis. And then try to get it to fit again. And maybe what I'll do is I could just stretch it just a little bit and kind of get it to fit. And yeah, now all I'm gonna do is take these, gonna try to get inside of the model here, and then I'm gonna take these edges, this whole edge loop, nope, that edge loop, duplicate it, P to separate it, and very quickly I'm just gonna try to kind of, let's see, solidify that. So, or I'll get rid of that and select everything, extrude, and then on the normal direction. And sometimes the normal direction doesn't always work properly. I'm not sure why. So I might have to kind of do it by eye. Like this, and then kind of try to get everything to match okay. Something like that actually doesn't look too bad, and I can always bring that, well, first I'm going to set the origin. Nope. Gonna move that in more, actually. Yeah. That's not too bad. And just to make things fit a little bit more, I can always move some of these vertices around, or edges. Just to make sure it fits better. And I'm also gonna just fill in this whole thing with grid fill. And sometimes it doesn't always work, but this time it seems like it actually came up with a pretty good solution. Let's see what else we get here. I can always turn on blending, which can do it better a lot of the time. And I'm actually pretty happy with the solution it came up with, so I'm going to go along with that. And I'll bring that edge in, shade it smooth, and that definitely looks pretty good. I'm going to shade this part black, and let's take a look. Oh, and this piece has to be, let's join these two. These two will be metal. And that certainly looks pretty good. So yeah, things are coming along, and next I think I'm going to work on the mirrors. Okay, so for the mirror, I'm going to use a combination of both spooleens and subdivision surfaces. So first off, what I'm going to do is add a cube, move it on the x-axis and the y-axis, scale it down, add subdivision surface. Then what I could do is just, let me think, I think I'm going to bring it up to 2, shade smooth, and then we could start to work on some of the geometry here. So something like this I'm going to be making. Yeah, and let me just find some references. And actually, I think before I add edge loops, I'm actually going to delete all those, because it can get very messy when you overcomplicate the geometry before starting the modeling. So I'm going to actually not show the subdivision modifier just yet, and what I may actually do is, in fact, no, I think I'm going to go with just standard modeling. So I'm kind of going to do it like this. So extrude it on the y-axis, then I'm going to be moving that vertex in each time. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm just looking at some mirrors and seeing how I can approach this better. I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll add a bevel modifier, but set the bevel weight. I'll set the bevel weight, and I'll bring up the segments, and I could shade it smooth with auto smooth, and yeah, so it's kind of looking like a car mirror. There's still a lot more to go though, so I'm going to take that way up, bring up the subdivisions. Well, actually, subdivision isn't going. So I'll bring up the bevel amount to something really high, and I may also bevel that, and then bevel that. I might not actually even need subdivisions here. And I'm going to also add some slight beveling to these sides. I don't think I'm going to even need subdivision surface. Sometimes you can get it all done with the bevel modifier. That needs a little bit more. But let's see what happens if I put subdivision surface on after this. Okay, so that doesn't look good at all. But yeah, I'm not going to use subdivisions. I'm just going to use the bevel workflow here, and I'm going to bring up the amount. And I'm going to turn up the segments to something like 8. And also going to remove that edge loop and put some bevels on here. Oh, and the scaling. Okay, I have to redo most of this because the scaling was not applied. So edge bevel weight -1 to change it all back, and I'm just going to do that over. So let me try that again. So again, this will be, whoops, did not want to do that. Edge bevel weight. that one will be more like that, I think. Let's see what's going on with this geometry. Maybe I'm putting too many. Nope. So I'm going to take a look and see what might be going on here. Aha, so it looks like this square here has to be a little bit bigger. Or I could just add some edge loops like that, just to kind of tell the bevel not to apply there. But I also need to move these edges in a little bit more. It's a lot of trial and error when working with bevels, and definitely not the same as working with the subdivision surface modifier. But a lot of the time you can get just as good results. Yeah, it seems not to be working out the best. I'm just going to go with the subdivision workflow. It's probably not ideal for the car mirror, for the bevel to work, so I'm just going to go back to subdivision modeling. Seems like the best choice. So yeah, I'm going to extrude that on the y-axis. Move that on the z-axis. Shade everything smooth. And already it seems like it should be not too big of a deal to do it this way. Yeah. Let me move this edge loop down a little more to kind of get the curve of the mirror to look better. That's not too bad. I'm actually not too, I'm actually liking this design. It's not bad. So what I could do is actually, I'm going to try to look at more reference images. And I believe that the back of the mirror should be a little bit more rounded, maybe. So something more like that. But then again, I'm not sure if I really want to do that. One thing I must do is make this piece, bring it back. Same thing here. And yeah, that's not looking bad. This can go, if this is the front, I actually want to bring that in a little bit more. And same for here. This can be brought up a little more. Same with that. And this one can be brought over a little more too. Just to sharpen up the corners in the front only. I think I'm going to just change some things here. Let's select this whole back, scale it down, and then select this edge loop. Now this piece is not looking too good, so what I have to do is scale that way down, and that does look a little bit better. And I'm going to move that in more. Same with this. And I'm actually think I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, that's not too bad. So, next what I'm gonna have to do is just take the front faces very easily by just selecting them. And actually, before I do that, why don't I bring the edge loop here that's on the bottom? I'm just going to bring that up. So select the whole thing and then grab it on the Z-axis. And I'm going to select the front face here. Duplicate it, scale it way down. Then apply all the modifier, no, I don't think I want to apply it. Actually, I was going to do a boolean with that, but I don't think that's a good idea because I want good geometry. So maybe instead of doing that, I'm going to just actually take this face and extrude it on the Y direction and hide the subdivision modifier briefly. Move it all the way in like that. And I'm just going to sharpen up the edges. Something like that should be good. And maybe after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these edge loops and bring them to be not so close together, because it's going to make the geometry not look as good. So that should be good. And same thing with the other side. More like that. And for these ones too, I'm going to do the same thing. And when I select like this, I'm just holding down Control key on my keyboard, and it lets me select in a straight path, which is really helpful actually. Let's bring these down, and that doesn't look bad at all. And one more edge loop on the inside, and yeah, that's our mirror. So let me take another look at how the mirror could look. I think it's a little bit tall, maybe, so the height might be too much. Could just do that, but then it becomes thinner, which I don't want. So what I can do instead is just select these vertices and then move it down to be something more like that. That's not too bad. And I can also move it out a little more, and then select these vertices and just move that back, and then we'll get something that's a little bit better. So now we gotta fill this with glass, so I'm gonna take this edge here and just fill that in. That's all, and just give that a slight thickness. Separate it. I think it didn't work correctly for some reason. Let's see what's going on. Delete the face. Select this edge loop, duplicate it, separate it. Okay, and A to select everything. Grid fill. Yeah. And now I want to solidify it, so the way I would do that is just by extruding it. Something like that, and yeah. That is perfect. Let's take a look. Oh, and for the metal, I'm going to actually duplicate this and give it a very reflective material since it's a mirror. Let's hope the reflections look good. So the reflections on the mirror itself, I mean the car mirror, the plastic actually doesn't look bad at all. Oh wow, okay, not too bad. Wow, alright. Almost perfect, actually. Very impressive. Let me bring some of this geometry out. It could fix things a little bit more. Okay, that's not bad at all. Wow. Alright, so I'll just move that towards the car. And we're going to have to mount the bracket next, and that should not take too long. So I'm going to move this. Let's see, I'm looking at some references here, and it looks like the mirror should be kind of facing in a little bit. Yeah, something like that. Maybe a little bit bigger. And it does look a little blocky, I think, the shape, but I can always modify that later on. And now all I'm going to do is actually, to make the bracket, I'm going to select everything on the bottom. Duplicate it, separate it, and start modeling it. So that should be relatively simple. So let's get this yeah, let's extrude that, and then just take these two faces, extrude that on the X direction. And I'm just doing a very basic mount for now, at least. I may make this more complex later on. That doesn't look bad at all. Okay. And I'm also going to take down the size of this end a little bit because it's too big. There we go. Same thing here. And that's too thick. So I'm going to take that thickness down of the bracket. Maybe make the bottom a little more of a curve shape, and just bring the bottom pieces up a little bit more. And I can bring that out, or maybe I'll leave it. I think that looks okay. Yeah. So why don't I do the mirror with everything now. Mirror it over the empty. There we go. Same thing with the bracket. And yeah, let's take a look. Wow, things are really coming along. Mirrors are a little bit not the best, but it's alright for now. I'm probably going to wind up adjusting them off the video to make everything kind of fit better together, but overall I'm pretty happy with how things are turning out so far. So next we're going to texture the tires. And I apologize if this video is boring. I know it is, but it's just basically a workflow log, basically, so I'm not really, it's not exactly a tutorial, but I'm kind of covering the process as I go along with it. I'm not sure how many people are into these kind of videos, but, yeah, so let's get to the tires now. We're going to make rubber, so that would be for the wheels. And I actually got these instanced, so I have to select the rubber here on the inside. I know, it seems odd that there's a tire sitting in the car, but that will definitely be fixed when things are ready. And I still gotta make the borders to the windows, which I'll probably be doing, I won't be getting to tonight, but yeah, I'm gonna get the tires done, hopefully, right now. So let's go back to, we could just go to Eevee because it's fast. It's important to have fast results when when we need to get things previewed here. So I'm gonna open up, whoop, I don't want to do that. Don't want to delete the timeline, so I want to get that back. And I also want to bring up the material editor. So I'm going to create a new material, call it rubber. Let's make that black. And already, right off the bat, doesn't look too bad, but we're going to take this further. So if we bring that metallic, we definitely don't want that to be metallic. We could change the roughness. I like default. Specular, that again be left as default. So we want to kind of add some kind of worn look maybe. And I'm going to find some reference images. Kind of like some wear and tear, but not too bad. Let's see, I'm just looking at the images here. But I can't show them on the video, unfortunately, just because of copyright. I don't want to do that. So anyway, let me just browsing here. Kind of trying to find a close-up of a tire. Okay, I got a good image. I think I found a good image of a tire reference. It's a little small, so I'm gonna try to find, yeah, I got a good one. Alright, so okay, so rubber has like a grainy structure to it. If you look very, very closely, there's no kind of grain to it. And it kind of looks flat, and that's because it needs a material. So we're going to adjust this here. We're going to add a noise texture. Add a bump map. And add that to the height. Connect the normal to the normal. And also going to add a texture coordinate because you could see everything looks really bad here, and that's because we have to use object coordinates. And bring all the detail up, and already you could see it's just way too strong. Bring down that strength to 0.1. Bring up the scale. Let's see, would 100 be good? So already that's not too bad. Let me see. Look at the reference again. And I'll also use that to adjust the roughness map. So add roughness. And you can go really crazy with materials, making complex node networks with over 50 nodes. But I don't think that's exactly necessary for a tire material, but I could do that. Don't think I'm gonna get it that big because it's not a very complex material. Okay, what is going on? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want that connected there. And gonna connect that into the roughness. Alright, that is looking better. Probably too strong. And I don't want it to be that shiny as the max, so I'm going to bring it up to like 0.25. This one to 0.75. And let's see what we get here. Yeah, that noise texture is way too big. And let's see, maybe 1 even, or 10. Okay. Yeah, so the bump map is way too strong even. I'm gonna take down the distance. And possibly, I'm actually going to duplicate this and just move that out so we can get a better look and see kind of what's going on better. Let me actually select the tire in the middle again and then get back to the right view. So, let's start playing around with the strength value. That looks pretty good. I'm actually very happy with that right there. That's what I'm going to go with for that. And also, I'm going to I'm going to subtract some roughness using another texture, which would be Voronoi texture. Bring that scale up and going to connect it to a color ramp. And I can always move it with the mapping node. And I just want to add a random kind of like rain almost fell on the tire, if that makes sense. Yeah, something like that should be okay. And I can just simply add a map node and then add that to here and then subtract that value from there. And I gotta reverse that and set that to subtract. Okay, that's the wrong, it's the wrong direction, so it has to be reversed. I think, let's see what's going on. Oh, yeah, it was right before. Alright. And that kind of adds, but before I do that, I want to add a noise texture. Or, not a noise texture, sorry. What's it called? Mix RGB. And just apply these coordinates. And I'm going to mix them in just to get some more procedural distortion. And wow, that is starting to look really good. So just some extra randomness. Maybe not subtract so much. Maybe just a little bit. Something like that is not bad at all. So it's kind of like the tire. Maybe it went through the rain. Maybe it's more shiny in parts. It's just how leather, not leather, rubber kind of looks. I'm going to make that a little more subtle. Something like that is pretty good. So now it looks more like it has dust. And then I'm just going to add an add node to the rest of everything and make sure everything's clamped between 0 and 1. And I'm just going to add, you can adjust the shininess or the value of it by adjusting here. So maybe something like 0.1 or even 0.2. is good. If you're in like a dusty place, you'd want like 0.2. If maybe you're in the forest and the ground is pretty wet, something like 0 would be better. So you get some kind of like rainwater kicked up. So I'm going to just put this to 0.2 for now. And I'm very, very satisfied with how this looks. Let's see how it looks in cycles. Yeah, it looks the same. It looks very, very much like leather. I mean, not leather. Why do I keep calling it leather? Rubber. Sorry about that. And now we gotta do the rims. And for the rims, it's gonna be very simple. Not gonna do anything too crazy. So that will just be chrome. For the rims. Let's take a look at that and see how it looks. And the same for the piece that also goes along the inside, which would be wheel chrome. Take a look at that and see what we're getting. It might be a little bit too shiny. And perhaps the metal is a little bit more dark. Yeah, something like that. You could also have copper rims, or even like blue colored rims, which I don't know why you choose that. But I'm going to just make it a darker, kind of like a blackish chrome, but maybe not that dark. Something like that. Bring up the roughness a little bit more. To 0.3. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that. Of course, I can always work on... I can always go back and put the rubber texture on that and then convert that to metal, which I'm going to try doing, I think, because I want to add some roughness to it. So let's go back to here, and what I'll do is just go back to Eevee Render temporarily to make things faster. And I could actually apply the rubber. And you may be wondering, why are you applying rubber to the rims? And the reason why is because all I have to do is bring up the metallic, bring the color up, turn up the scale of the noise, or this I could bring up 50, turn up the scale of the noise here, 50, and just going to adjust the roughness here. don't really want to add any. Gonna add a color ramp to make this easier. Let's set that to 0.2. And that gives us that subtle metal-like texture, which I'm more happy with. And perhaps I could also bring up that scale of the noise to something like 100, just to make things more fine. This will go up to 100. And I can even bring down this to 0.15. But I don't, that's too much actually, so I'm going to go back. Going to go back and bring that up back up to 0.2. And this one will be 0.8 or 0.6. And yeah, I'm happy with that. And I'll also change the rim piece here, which is the outer part. Set that to be I'm going to name it Wheel Chrome Pitted. And actually that one I'm going to change Wheel Chrome Outer Pitted, because it's the outer piece, and I can bring down the brightness of that piece to make it something more like that. And there is a lot of customization you can do with this stuff here. I can bring that all the way down, but I don't want to do that. Thinking somewhere like that looks good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, and yeah, that pretty much covers it for today. So let me actually delete this wheel, and we can take a look at the car in cycles. This is what we got so far. So today we did a lot of, I covered a lot. I got the wheels modeled, got the mirrors pretty much done, got the back lights, the tail lights. I got the front piece here. I'm not into automotive stuff, so if you have any automotive questions, I do not know much about cars actually. Believe it or not, even though I modeled this thing. So it definitely is a learning experience for me, learning about all this stuff in the cars that a car has. So there's just a little bit more to go. Got to get some of the window frames done. This bottom piece has got to have different colors. Adjust some of the shading. The paint shading maybe could be changed a little more. And yeah, so I actually have a scene here that I could show you guys that I put the car in. Let me unhide it all. So this is what I set up here. Let's just unhide everything. And wow, that is going to be really slow, but I modeled it in a whole interior. It's a brutalist structure, which means it's all mostly concrete, and it looks pretty cool and futuristic. So let's bring this down there, and let's go to camera view, and let's just take a look at how this looks. So I'm going to go to rendered, and let's see how it looks. And actually, it kind of looks like a garage, but I'm not sure. Something weird is going on here. So I'm just going to get something fixed. Where is that light coming from? Aha! Okay, we need that sunlight to go this way, I think. And does that fix it? Let's see. Actually, I can always delete that. Yeah. But it seems like there's light coming from somewhere that it shouldn't be. So I'm going to try to figure out what that is. Let's see, I'm going to go to Eevee. Maybe now it's not. It is working correctly, I think. Let's go to denoising. Optics. So, yeah, it is working. Some things have to be changed. Whoa, okay, where am I? Let's go back to solid view. Not sure what this cube is. Oh. Cube 029. Okay, I gotta get rid of that. Yeah, that shouldn't be there. Now everything should be working. Let's go to the render and take a look. Perhaps I'll bring down the HDRI brightness. And also I could put down a sun lamp. Bring up the strength all the way up, something like 100. See what it looks like inside. Too much. 10. Okay, let's set that to 10. And give it a futuristic color, maybe. And then I can also bring that in a little bit more. Sorry for tweaking all this stuff. I know the process is boring, but sometimes things look better. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's see how that looks. Wow. And you can see as the render keeps going, the noise is starting to clear up more and more. It's still really slow, so This really lets you get a good preview of everything, how it's coming along. This was just a scene I made. Wow. Okay, yeah, let's get a side view just to see how things are looking. And actually, I'm going to take down the roughness of that. Or no, that's too much. No, that's good how it was. Metallic look kind of looks cool. But yeah, the shader is definitely going to need to be adjusted later on. Let's see how black looks. I think a black car would better fit in with an environment like this. But then again, who really knows? Yeah, a black car would look a lot better in some kind of futuristic image like this. Yeah. So obviously the car color can always be changed. And just for extra fun, let's go to the camera view, and then I'm going to move the camera up a little bit more. Whoa, what did I do there? Move it up, move it on the y-axis, turn it to kind of face the car, kind of get a cinematic image here. And what else I could do is get to the camera view and set the focal distance to be the headlight. Let's go back to the camera view. And now we get all these lines converging, and they're basically, the scene is leading you to the car, which is a very good thing you want to focus on when creating an artistic rendering. You want converging lines. It'll lead your viewers into the picture, sort of. So let's bring that f-stop down to something like 1 and preview that in Eevee before we look at it in cycles. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, I think I'm happy with something like 0.8, maybe. And then we go back into cycles and take a look. Maybe what else I'll do is I will actually brighten this up to something like 120. Make the headlights more noticeable. So yeah, let's just let that clear up a bit and I'm going to set that to open image to noise to get a clearer look. And open image to noise does a lot better of a job, I noticed, than optics. In fact, it already looks good, almost. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking so far. You can see it looks very cinematic. Definitely have a lot more to go in this project. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions or suggestions in the comments, please suggest them to me. I had a lot of fun working on this, and I hope to do more in the future. Kind of busy a lot, but I will try to keep uploading these videos, especially if you guys enjoy them. So yeah, I hope you guys learned a little bit from this video, and if you have any suggestions, please comment, please subscribe, and thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.